Here's an interesting thought. I don't know if you've ever thought about it, but our wild and woolly economy that produces so much value, so many interesting things, sometimes pain, sometimes wonderful things coming out of it, it could be represented as a graph. Big picture, big mission for the PageKey unit. Let's think about it. How does this all relate? Well, first of all, think of a few, just normal people that you know in your daily life. You probably know a nurse. You probably know a bartender. These are just two examples. Postal worker, all sorts of things. Well, the nurse works at a healthcare location. Money flows from the healthcare location to the nurse to pay her or him for their time. Same thing for the bartender. They are paid at a restaurant by the people going to the restaurant. So really need a bubble for the people attending the restaurant. But at each of these locations, you have connections to other industries. So the healthcare location, wherever that may be, a hospital, whatever, has information technology there, has HR department, has supplies that it's ordering. So you have logistics involved now, getting things to that healthcare location. Similarly, this industry of logistics would connect over here to the restaurant where you have a depot where they're getting all of their bulk supplies from. They have a processor that's taking huge amounts of farm produced vegetables and things and cutting them up and putting them into neat little packages. And of course you have the farmer producing that food to start with. And the restaurant also has a point of sale system, which several links are missing here, but you could eventually trace it back to microchips, manufacturing microchips. So you have all these things that are connected. Now here's my problem, is that if the nurse notices something that's wrong with the system, all she can do is tell her supervisor at the healthcare location, and then the healthcare location can complain to whoever supplied them with the software, to the IT company or to some huge company that produced the software. And the only reason that software exists, that probably saves lots of time and money and energy for everyone involved, is because they had the economies of scale to put into making this for the first time. But now the healthcare location and the nurse, they have no power over changing how that system works. Same thing with the point of sale system. If there's a better way for that particular location to sell things, they have no insight into how this is engineered. And it's intentionally kept opaque, because if there were no way to support or provide updates, then these big companies would go out of business. If these people could maintain their own software, then they would have a big problem and there would be no industry over here. It would dry up. But I have a feeling that if we empower people who are doing actual work to control the information technology systems that they rely on, we end up with happier nurses, happier bartenders, and a better world, because they're doing better work, they're more fulfilled at work, and they get rid of this learned helplessness that they have, because so many times they've noticed things wrong and had no power to fix them. So that's happened again and again, and they just give up and they say, this system is terrible, I can't do anything about it. What are you going to do? And the world goes on a slightly worse place due to this. And it's all because they're essentially cells in a cash cow. You know how a cow just roams around in the field and it's, eating grass and whatnot. These big companies that developed the software grew themselves a cash cow, gave it to these healthcare locations to do whatever they have to do. Now they're just farming it, right? So they want to keep farming that cash cow. And these people feel like they're just one little cell in a huge machine, just a cog. But I think that a better future for us that I envision is that these people feel empowered to change the things that they rely on, the technology that they rely on, to do their job better. These people, why can't they also be engineers, changing the things that they work with? Because they know better than anyone else, anyone with any special degree, what they need to do to get their job done. So why are we not developing systems that, instead of being intentionally opaque and hard to maintain so that we have to rely on the people who made them originally, why don't we make them so that you can drill in endlessly into that black box, understand the workings to the extent that you would like to as a consumer, and change it as you would like as well? I understand it's probably much more complicated than that, especially in healthcare where there's all that regulation. Restaurants, probably food regulations too, right? There's a lot of complexity here, but I'm just saying, how do we take the power and push it down into these people's hands who are doing the actual work on a day-to-day? That's just an interesting thought of the day. How does it connect to everything else? Who knows? But maybe you liked that thought. This is an experimental video format. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a nice day.